Well, we got one of our favorites here, Tye Richardson, co-host of The Morning Rush, program director, ESPN Arkansas. Hit that line. Busy time for you, Tye. What's up, brother?
Mike, it's good to hear from you, man. I'm making it to your neck of the woods tomorrow on a direct flight out of Northwest Arkansas. I got a little nice Arkansas backdrop, little waterfall. Staying at this inn tonight, getting ready for this Arkansas Duke game. I mean, you got the Petrino news, the NIL stuff, the best game in college basketball outside of what's going on in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. It is a wild last 24 hours for Razorback sports.
Yeah, I'm wearing the Razorback shirt just for you, Tye, just so you
Let's
know
go.
that. But, hey, I obviously want to talk Razorbacks with you, but I have to ask because I had a lot of Mizzou fans ask me when we could get you back on the line. You said you'd quit if Mizzou beat Arkansas. Did you turn in your notice or anything?
What upset is most likely to happen for Arkansas next year? LSU, Alabama, or Missouri?
Oh, gosh.
I had to throw them under the bus. Right?
Oh, gosh. If they lose to Missouri at home, you might as well. I'm not coming back to do radio after Thanksgiving. I'm just going to stay at home and never do it again. I honestly think.
I did play that audio soundbite. I admitted on air this week that Missouri is a better football program than Arkansas, and we're going to chalk that up to insanity, pleading that's in the case. And the reality is, and I kind of looked at the record, and basically you throw in everything prior to 2012, in my opinion, when it comes to these two, because Arkansas is clearly the better program pre-2012, but this new era of college football is not about that, right? We got a new SEC starting next year, new college football playoff format starting next year, NIL, transfer portal. The old age is gone, and Arkansas better hope that they get with it, or to be honest, they're going to keep losing Missouri. Again, the better football team. And I hate saying that. It stings me to say that. But all you Mizzou fans listening, it's the reality, unfortunately.
Yeah. So any surprise that Sam Pittman is returning? Because it certainly seemed like the fan base was ready to move on. And, of course, the fans don't make the decision. But initially, Hunter Yurachek came out and made that decision. How surprised were you?
I wasn't that surprised, to be honest, after the initial, as you mentioned, statement following the FIU game. Just didn't help himself. I mean, you got reamed by Missouri, 48-14. Embarrassing loss. Offense didn't show up. Defense did for a little bit. I mean, there was 5 turnovers. What are they supposed to do? I mean, you're just not going to hold a team down that has a guy like Luther Burden and Cody Schrader. That might be, honestly, I can't believe I'm saying this, the best wide receiver running back duo in the conference, which is just so weird. But to give credit to Schrader, he's going to win the Burlsworth Trophy this coming Monday night. And maybe it was whatever the case, he's going to win it. And then Burden is one of the best wide receivers in the SEC. Had even in their losses to LSU, Georgia had 200-something yards and a touchdown. He's unbelievable. So, yeah, he didn't do himself any favors, but now they have a chance to get something back going with this Bobby Petrino hire. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's a home run from just a on the field standpoint, but it sure was to the fan base. It felt like taking these calls all morning.
Yeah, and that's where I wanted to go. Obviously, I can't believe. I mean, I knew he was popular when he was there, Bobby Petrino, but now that he's officially back, I have been surprised. It seems like Pittman's got the goodwill again. It seems like the fans have done a 180. Does that surprise you at all?
So 3 years ago, he apologized to the Little Rock Touchdown Club, which is a big money booster. I'm sure there's one in Nashville, Knoxville, various other SEC towns. And Dave Basil has done a great job. They've gotten some big names there. And some people in Central Arkansas took that as a pretty contrite moment for him. And I think, again, he didn't necessarily apologize to Northwest Arkansas, previous members of his staff, the entire fan base or whatever, but he did that. I wouldn't say he teared up, but he was close. And I think it's also been, I mean, that was April 4th, 2012, or April 1st, 2012. I mean, it's 10 plus years. You got to wonder, it's the balance, right? There's the morality issue. There's the fact that he hired someone and basically superseded all these other things issue. And then there's also the issue of, well, he wins football games, or he is thought to be a winner at this point. So it's a convoluted, complicated matter. And this fan base, there is not a move that Sam Pittman could have made this offseason from an addition, from retaining someone, from another offensive coordinator, this NIL announcement. All this stuff is blown out of the water by this Petrino news. And I would say probably 80% positive, 20% negative. If they have success, it's going to shift dramatically. And I would almost say there's basically no blowback to this hire if it gets to that point, Mike.
Yeah. And do you buy any of the narrative that, hey, I mean, let's call it what it is. I mean, he kind of I don't know if railroad is the right word, but he derailed Arkansas football when it was at its best in the SEC history. Any motivation that Bobby Petrino will have to kind of right the ship, because it's just not been the same since he got dismissed.
Man, I hope so, Mike, because there is that is an idea that has entered my thought, and he's talked about not just publicly but apparently privately how much he enjoyed his time at Arkansas. And I do wonder, when Sam Pittman initially hired Dan Enos, if there was an idea that he possibly wanted that job at the time as well. I think for him, you have a chance, as you said, to right your wrongs, right? I mean, you figure this thing out after a 4-8 season, everyone's going to love you again. Even the people that you may have wronged on, I say that, not everyone. Most everyone will love you again if you get it to that point. You have a chance. Again, the vindication concept is so prevalent in sports, and it doesn't happen often where someone's able to come back after being terminated. I mean, this is so rare. This is such an odd occurrence, but he's got that opportunity, and I hope he makes the most of it. I'd be lying if I'm sitting here on Wednesday at the end of November telling you it's going to work, because I don't even know who the quarterback's going to be. There's reports out right now that KJ Jefferson is entering the portal. I thought he was going to leave prior to Petrino. This almost solidified how I thought he was going to leave. So they got to get a QB, because then they don't have a QB. It doesn't matter if he's an offensive genius or not. They ain't going to work in the SEC.
Yeah. So what do you make of all that? The KJ News 24/7 Sports reported he's entering the portal. He says, "Hey, not so fast. Haven't made a decision." Do Arkansas? I've been seeing some mixed stuff, Ty. I'm kind of shocked. Some Arkansas fans, maybe they're just, their heart's broken that this is even being out there, but they seem like ready to move on from KJ, which I think is asinine. But what's your thoughts on KJ potentially leaving, and particularly, I mean, I would think a handful of SEC schools would do everything they can to add KJ Jefferson.
Yeah, and I don't know if Jeff Levy's hired as offensive coordinator. I think conventional thinking would bring up Kendall Briles as a possibility, leaving Fort Worth to go work with his brother-in-law. And KJ, if that happens, I think ends up at Starkville. That report you mentioned said South Carolina, Dow Loggins connection. Go play for Shane Beamer, who just brought in a transfer quarterback in Rattler. I think that if Bobby Petrino thinks it can work, then I'm going to trust his judgment over my own. I thought KJ was gone after this year, last couple of weeks, and got to transfer to another school. But if Petrino's willing to say, listen, I can work with this guy, I can make it work. We saw what he did with Lamar Jackson in Louisville. We've seen Louis do other stops. He's had good quarterbacks at Arkansas before. If he's willing to put his reputation and this football team's destiny in the hands of KJ Jefferson, then so am I. I just don't think it's going to play out that way.
Mm-hmm. And then there have been a couple Razorbacks hit the portal, Ty. Any of these guys, or which one do you think is the biggest loss here? Chris Paul, Sam Mbake, Jordan Crook. Which one do you think hurts a team the most next season?
I think it's Paul, man. I love watching that kid play. He plays with an energy. His dad was about as vocal for Sam Pittman as it gets. I don't know what's happened this last week. I don't know if this was a last or a quick decision. And I don't know if Petrino changes that. I don't know if he's trying to get more money. With everything going on, you just don't know unless a kid tells you. And I don't think he's going to do that. So I'm really curious to see where he ends up. That's an SEC linebacker. He'll probably stay, I think, within the SEC. He's a Georgia kid. So I'd say Chris Paul, Mike, is the one that maybe stings the worst right now.
Mm-hmm. And then I saw you react to this, so I know you're already looking ahead to it, Ty. You are no fan of them Texas Longhorns, there'll be an SEC team here very soon, but Arkansas gets to host Texas once again, November 16th. Let's say Bobby Petrino, that's a home run hire. They correct the issues on the offensive line, and Arkansas gets cooking. What kind of anticipation do you anticipate for that big game in Fayetteville?
I mean, Quinn Ewers seems like he's coming back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the case, I mean, Texas is going to be – I know SEC fans listening right now, and I bet we have some Oklahoma and Texas fans listening. The idea that Texas is just going to come in the league and dominate, I think is incorrect. But they're going to be good. And we saw what they can do walking into Tuscaloosa, Alabama, week 2 this year. We saw them. They should have won that game last year. So at that point, I would think that Texas, and they have, if memory serves me correct, they host Georgia earlier this season, right?
Yeah.
So, they could be potentially trying to play for Atlanta at that point. And you have a chance in Arkansas, if it plays out like you're insinuating, to knock them off the pedestal as you did 2 years ago in week 2. It's a much later game. It'll be cold, windy night in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Hope you and cousin Shane make it for that Tennessee game whenever that's announced. But I love it, man. I can't wait. I'm excited for this next season. I was in a funk after the Missouri game. I was like, wake me up in 280 some odd days when they played Stillwater in a game that actually matters. But this Petrino thing changed everything, not just for me, but I think a lot of fans.
Yeah, and then we don't talk much basketball on here, Ty, but I know you and Razorback Nation, they're fired up for this Duke game. So can you give me a quick prediction? Arkansas, do they beat Duke?
They're only underdogs like 4 or 5 points, and I was kind of surprised by that, Mike. Listen, Tremont Mark, maybe their best player, his status is unknown tonight. Now he's on some over-under player props. You can make of that what you will. I think for this basketball team, they got to play like they did against Purdue in that exhibition game, which they won. They played out of their mind defensively. Offensively, they weren't great, but they did enough. L. Ellis came alive in that game in the overtime. He had 21 against Duke, I think, last year when he was a Louisville Cardinal. So I think the key in tonight is not only them to pick it up defensively like they did against the Boilermakers. Ellis has got to play better than he has the last few games. If he has a great game tonight, there's a good chance that Arkansas wins. I'm riding high. Might as well. Hogs are getting this thing done tonight, Mike. They're getting it done. I mean, you can't pull back the fan base after what's happened in the last 24 hours. So you might as well just throw another positive thing in there. They'll get it done tonight.
Yeah, you've never been wrong on this show, so I appreciate you, Ty. We got to break this streak here. You know what?
Oh, man. Mike, hopefully I'll see you the next couple of days, buddy, in Nashville.
Absolutely. Before you go, Ty, real quick, can you tell people how can they follow you? How can they find your work?
Well, regrettably, you can follow me on X at Tye Sports Radio if you want stupid content like apparently I insinuated in the offseason with Mike at and Shane at SEC Media Days. You can listen to the Morning Rush if you're an Arkansas fan from 6 to 9 on ESPN Arkansas and hit thatline.com. And hopefully I will be posting a picture of Mike and myself either eating some good barbecue with Hog fans or good pizza, one or the other Friday around lunch.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, brother. I appreciate you.